17-year-old Malik Johnson ambled along the cracked sidewalk, earbuds tucked snugly beneath the hood of his faded gray hoodie. The soft thump of an old jazz track vibrated faintly through the wires, its mellow trumpet weaving through his thoughts as his black sneakers scuffed the concrete with each measured step. His dark eyes flicked upward, catching the sunlight as it filtered through the towering oak trees, their leaves casting long dappled shadows that stretched across the street like lazy fingers reaching for the fading day. Malik moved with the confident, easy gait of someone attuned to the city's rhythms, though this quiet street felt a little too subdued for his usual energy. His backpack hung low over one shoulder, the worn patches and frayed seams telling stories of long school days, weekend adventures, and countless errands. Ahead, a slow, uneven shuffle caught his attention. He paused mid-step, tilting his head slightly, the music fading from his ears. Near the faded white picket fence of the old Henderson house, a relic from another era, an elderly man sat alone on a weathered wooden bench. His shoulders were slumped, and his face, pale beneath the wide brim of a battered hat, wore the weight of years and weariness. One trembling hand clutched a crumpled paper bag, its edges stained and worn. A tug of curiosity nudged Malik forward. The street was usually empty at this hour, the school day long over, and most neighbors inside their homes preparing for the evening. Something about the man's quiet struggle pulled at him, an unspoken thread of urgency woven into the stillness. Malik took off his earbuds, the soft jazz fading into silence as he approached, the crunch of his sneakers the only sound breaking the afternoon calm. "Hey, sir," Malik called softly, his voice steady despite the flutter of apprehension stirring in his chest. "You okay?" The old man blinked slowly, his cloudy eyes focusing uncertainly before settling on Malik with a flicker of gratitude. "Just a bit tired, son," he murmured, his voice crackling like dry leaves underfoot. "Lost my way." Malik crouched beside him, the fading sun catching the silver streaks in the man's thinning hair. A faint aroma of old leather and peppermint lingered in the air, mingling with the scent of weathered wood and summer grass. The bench beneath them creaked softly, as though echoing the start of a story neither of them could yet imagine. "Do you want some water? Or maybe I can help you get home?" Malik offered, his tone gentle. The man's lips twitched in a weak smile. "I don't rightly know where home is anymore," he said, voice barely above a whisper. Malik's heart tightened. He glanced around Maple Street, so familiar yet now seeming filled with new possibilities and hidden paths. "Well, maybe we can find it together." The old man nodded slowly, the faintest spark of hope flickering in his eyes as the warm light of the afternoon wrapped around them, promising that this quiet street was about to change. Malik's days were a patchwork quilt of schoolwork, basketball practice, and shifts at the local convenience store, each piece stitched together with the threads of routine and responsibility. Raised by his mother, a nurse whose long, grueling hours left her both exhausted and proud, he often sought refuge in the quiet corners of Maple Street and the sprawling city park nearby. His neighborhood was a vibrant tapestry of cultures and generations, a place where echoes of the past mingled with the pulse of the present, where laughter spilled from porches and old stories wove through the air like the scent of jasmine on a summer breeze. At school, Malik was known not just for his quick wit and steady hands on the basketball court, but also for his quiet kindness. Teachers admired his focus, teammates counted on his calm under pressure, and classmates whispered tales of his small acts of generosity, helping carry heavy books, offering encouraging words, standing up for those who couldn't. He carried the weight of his dreams lightly, balancing the pressure to succeed with a natural resilience that belied his years. His friends teased him about his habit of helping strangers, dubbing him the neighborhood's unofficial guardian. Malik only shrugged, convinced that every person had a story worth hearing and a moment worth sharing. His favorite place was the old Henderson house, a stubborn relic that once belonged to the family who founded the town. The house stood amid overgrown grass and wildflowers, its white paint peeled and cracked like weathered skin, windows dark and empty as forgotten eyes. Nearby, hay bales stacked haphazardly beside the barn told tales of simpler times, whispering reminders of harvest festivals, childhood games, and quiet evenings spent under starlit skies. Malik often passed the old house on his walks, imagining the lives that once filled its rooms, the laughter, the struggles, the secrets held tight within its walls. It was here, beneath the gnarled branches of the ancient maple tree, that he found a rare piece. The scent of hay and earth mingled with the faint smell of old paper drifting from the mailbox, a place where forgotten letters sometimes slipped through crackling winds. Despite the calm, an undercurrent of restlessness stirred within him. The city was changing, and so was he. The weight of expectations from school, family, and the future pulled at his shoulders, a subtle battle between the familiar and the unknown playing out every day in his heart. One afternoon, as Malik sat beneath the maple tree, the breeze rustling leaves above him, he traced the cracked edges of the peeling paint on the barn. The world felt both vast and intimate, filled with stories waiting for someone to listen. The encounter with the old man lingered in Malik's mind like a stubborn melody as he made his way home. The man's shaky hands and distant gaze were unlike the usual elderly neighbors he saw at the community center or the park, whose smiles were warm and eyes sharp. There was a vulnerability there, a quiet desperation beneath the surface, that unsettled Malik more than he cared to admit. That night, as rain tapped gently against his bedroom window in a soft rhythmic patter, Malik lay awake, thoughts swirling like leaves caught in a restless wind. The image of the man's tired eyes and the crumpled paper bag sat heavy in his mind. Why had the man been there alone? What had led him to such a fragile state? The scent of peppermint seemed to hang in the air of his memory, mingling with the scent of rain and the faint musk of old leather. His dreams were restless, stitched together from fragments of the afternoon, the worn bench, the towering oak, the fading light. He saw shadows moving beneath the hay bales, heard whispers carried on the wind. The old man's voice echoed in his sleep, a soft murmur of lost time and hidden truths. The next morning, Malik found himself drawn back to the spot before the sun had fully risen. The bench was empty, but the faint scent of peppermint and old leather still clung to the air like a secret. Nearby, just beneath a hay bale stacked by the barn, something caught his eye. A weathered envelope, its edges yellowed with age, the elegant handwriting smudged but still legible. His fingers trembled slightly as he unfolded the letter, the paper crackling softly in the quiet morning. The words spoke of a hidden truth, a secret tied to the town's history and the mysterious Henderson family. The letter hinted at a past filled with loss and redemption, of an identity concealed beneath layers of silence for decades. Malik's pulse quickened, his breath catching in his throat. The letter was a puzzle piece, a whisper from the past demanding to be heard. The quiet afternoon on Maple Street was no longer just a backdrop. It was the stage for something much larger, something that would change everything. He folded the letter carefully, slipping it into his pocket, and looked around the street now bathed in soft morning light. The neighborhood seemed different, alive with possibility and shadowed secrets. Determined to uncover the truth, Malik returned to the bench the next day, the sun bright and warm, the air thick with the mingled scents of hay, blooming jasmine, and freshly turned earth. The neighborhood buzzed faintly with afternoon activity. Children's voices floated from open windows, and the distant clatter of dishes came from the Whitaker household. But Malik's focus remained unwavering. Suddenly the old man appeared, leaning heavily on a worn cane, each step slow but purposeful. His wide-brimmed hat cast a shadow over his pale face, but his eyes, though clouded, locked with Malik's in a moment of recognition. A flicker of something unspoken passed between them. "You found the letter," he said, voice barely above a whisper, yet carrying the weight of decades. Malik nodded, heart pounding with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. "Who are you? What does this all mean?" The man settled onto the bench with a slow sigh, the weathered wood creaking beneath him like a tired sigh. "I am the last of the Henderson line," he confessed, voice rough but steady. "And that letter, it holds the key to a story that, if told, could shake this town to its core." Malik swallowed hard, the late afternoon sun casting long golden shadows across the cracked pavement. The air seemed charged, as if the very street itself was holding its breath. As the light deepened and the shadows lengthened, Malik realized that helping the old man was only the beginning. The past was reaching out, pulling him into a mystery tangled with identity, history, and secrets buried beneath the hay bales and peeling paint. The quiet street had shifted. The story was unfolding, and Malik was now a part of it. Malik's mind raced as he sat beside the old man, whose name he now knew was Arthur Henderson. The faded letter clutched in his hands felt heavier than its thin paper weight, a message more like a challenge. Arthur's voice, though weary, carried a steady rhythm as he recounted fragments of a life lived in shadows, secrets buried beneath layers of time and silence. They agreed to meet again the following day by the barn, where the hay bales stood like silent sentinels, their rough straw scent thick in the air. The place felt charged, as though history itself seeped from the earth beneath their feet. That evening, Malik immersed himself in research, diving into the town's dusty library archives. The musty smell of old books and yellowed newspapers filled his senses as he combed through stories of the Henderson family, prominent once, then forgotten. Tales of wealth and scandal, sudden disappearances, whispered curses, and fractured legacies unfolded before him like a tattered tapestry. He learned that the hay bales were more than remnants of farm life. They were markers, guarding untold truths beneath their golden layers. Malik's investigation was only beginning, but already he sensed fragile threads weaving the past and present together. Arthur's presence was a beacon in the dark maze of history and hidden identities, a guide through stories half told and lives half lived. Malik felt the weight of responsibility settle squarely on his shoulders, but a fierce determination burned within him. He was ready to walk this path, no matter where it led. The quiet town, however, was not without its barriers. Rumors began to swirl like autumn leaves caught in a restless wind as Malik's questions stirred old wounds. Some neighbors cast wary glances at Arthur, their whispers laced with suspicion and fear. The once welcoming Maple Street grew tense, the air thick with unspoken warnings and the weight of secrets best left buried. Malik found himself caught between loyalty and truth, the two pulling him in opposite directions. His friends questioned his involvement, concerned for his safety and the trouble he might stir. At school, the buzz of gossip made him a target for sideways glances and snide remarks, the weight of whispered accusations pressing down like an invisible fog. The pressure threatened to crush his resolve, yet Malik refused to falter. Arthur's health began to deteriorate, his frailty evident in every trembling movement and labored breath. The letter, once a symbol of hope, now felt like a burden too heavy to bear. The hay bales by the barn, once a comforting sight, became a place fraught with dread and uncertainty, their golden layers now shadows pressing close. Yet Malik's determination only sharpened. The mystery demanded answers, and Arthur's trust was a lifeline he could not sever. The obstacles only steeled his courage, hardening his resolve for the challenges ahead. One evening, Malik sat alone beneath the maple tree, the scent of jasmine mingling with the cool night air. The weight of the journey pressed upon him, but within that weight a quiet fire burned, one that would not be extinguished. Amidst the swirling tension, a fragile bond blossomed between Malik and Arthur. Their differences, once stark and unbridgeable, blurred into shared purpose and mutual respect. The old man's stories, rich with vivid detail and raw emotion, painted a tapestry of a past filled with love, loss, and resilience. Malik listened intently, absorbing tales of the Henderson family's legacy, their role in the town's founding, and the secrets hidden beneath the layers of time. Arthur's eyes, once clouded with pain and weariness, now held a spark of hope, a light kindled by Malik's unwavering presence and youthful resolve. Together, they explored the barn and its towering hay bales, uncovering clues buried in forgotten letters and faded photographs. Each discovery deepened their connection, bridging generations with the power of trust and understanding. Their friendship became a sanctuary, a quiet harbor where past and present converged. Malik's world expanded, enriched by the wisdom and resilience of a man who had waited decades for someone to listen. One afternoon, as the sun filtered through dusty barn windows, casting golden beams that danced on straw, Malik and Arthur sat sharing a pot of tea. The warmth seeped into their hands as they talked, laughter breaking through the tension, weaving moments of peace into their shared journey. As the days passed, Malik felt himself changing in ways subtle yet profound. The mystery that had drawn him in also opened doors within, doors to empathy, courage, and self-awareness. He learned to see beyond appearances, to recognize the complexity of human stories hidden beneath surface judgments. The hay bales near the barn, once symbols of forgotten farm life, transformed into metaphors for resilience, layers of protection cocooning fragile truths. Malik's own layers peeled back, revealing a young man ready to face uncertainty with quiet strength. Arthur's presence challenged Malik to confront his fears and doubts, The old man's unwavering faith in Malik's ability to uncover the truth inspired a quiet confidence that grew each day. Together they navigated the shadows of history, lighting their way with determination and hope. Malik's growth was palpable, not just in his actions but in the way he carried himself, standing taller, speaking with clarity, and meeting challenges with resolve. The journey was shaping him into someone new, someone ready to embrace the future. One evening, beneath a sky smeared with stars, Malik confided in Arthur his fears of failure and loss. Arthur's hand, rough and trembling, reached out to rest on Malik's shoulder. "Courage isn't the absence of fear, Malik," he said softly. "It's moving forward despite it." One evening, as twilight painted the sky in deep shades of purple and gold, an unexpected visitor arrived at the barn. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and drying straw, the quiet punctuated by the soft rustle of hay. A man in a sharp suit stepped out from the shadows, his eyes cold and calculating beneath furrowed brows. His presence was a jarring contrast to the rustic surroundings. He demanded Arthur's immediate silence, his voice low but laced with menace. Malik's heart hammered in his chest as the visitor's cold gaze swept over them both. The man revealed himself as a distant relative, intent on burying the family's secrets to protect a legacy built on deception and denial. His threats were veiled but unmistakable. Stop digging or face consequences. The confrontation shattered the fragile peace Malik and Arthur had built. The hay bales that once stood as a refuge now seemed to close in like walls of a cage, their golden layers transformed into barriers imprisoning truth. Malik's courage was tested as he faced the harsh reality that the truth came at a price. The weight of the visitor's presence pressed down, threatening to crush hope. After the man left, Arthur sank back onto the bench, exhaustion etched deep in his face. Malik knelt beside him, voice steady but fierce. "We can't let fear win. We have to keep going." Arthur nodded weakly, the spark in his eyes dim but not extinguished. The visitor's threat lingered like a cold shadow, weighing heavily on Malik's shoulders. Arthur's health worsened, the stress of the confrontation taking a toll that no medicine could ease, yet Malik's resolve only hardened. The truth, he realized, was not just about uncovering history, it was about justice and healing. Maple Street buzzed with unease. Neighbors whispered in doorways, their eyes filled with suspicion and fear. Malik felt isolated, the weight of expectation and danger pressing close, but he knew he could not give up. The hay bales by the barn remained silent witnesses to their struggle, standing steady amid the storm. Sleepless nights found Malik piecing together clues, poring over letters and photographs, searching for a way to expose the truth safely. The journey was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but his determination never wavered. In quiet moments, Arthur shared stories of hope and redemption, reminding Malik that courage was born from love and faith. Their bond deepened, a tether anchoring them against the rising tide. One night, as rain pattered softly against the barn's roof, Malik sat beside Arthur, the old man's frail hand in his own. "We'll get through this," Malik promised. Together. Arthur smiled weakly, eyes shining with quiet gratitude. With the crisis looming, Malik sought allies, reaching out to a trusted teacher, Ms. Ramirez. Her passion for history and justice matched his own, and her calm presence became a steadying force. She agreed to help him navigate the archives and understand the legal implications of their discoveries. Together, they planned a careful approach, gathering evidence, documenting every detail, and preparing to reveal the truth in a way that could withstand opposition. Malik's confidence grew as he realized he was not alone in this fight. Arthur's health remained fragile, but his spirit was unbroken. The old man's tales of the hay bales and the barn guided their strategy, reminding Malik that sometimes the smallest details held the greatest power. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery oranges and soft pinks, Malik felt a surge of hope. The final confrontation was near, and he was ready to face it with courage and clarity. The day of reckoning arrived beneath a sky heavy with brooding clouds, the scent of impending rain mingling with the earthy aroma of the barnyard. Malik and Ms. Ramirez met Arthur at the barn, the towering hay bales standing like ancient guardians around them. Town officials, journalists, and wary neighbors gathered, drawn by the promise of revelation and the weight of unspoken truths. Malik stepped forward, voice steady but charged with emotion. His fingers trembled slightly as he held up the letters, photographs, and accounts tying the Henderson family's history to injustices long hidden. The crumpled letter, once forgotten beneath the hay bales, became the centerpiece of a story demanding acknowledgement. The man in the sharp suit attempted to dispute the claims, his voice rising in anger, but the evidence was undeniable. The crowd fell silent, frozen in the gravity of truth laid bare. Arthur, frail but resolute, stepped forward. His voice, though weak, carried the strength of forgiveness and hope. "We cannot change the past," he said, eyes glistening, "but we can choose how we face the future. Let this be a beginning, not an end." The hay bales, illuminated by the soft fading light of the sun, stood as a testament to resilience and transformation, silent witnesses to a story reclaimed. In the days that followed, Maple Street began to heal. The revelation sparked conversations, bridging divides and fostering understanding where suspicion once thrived. Malik's courage inspired others to face their own histories with openness and compassion. Arthur's health improved, buoyed by the support of a community finally willing to listen. The barn and its hay bales transformed into symbols of renewal, a place where past and future intertwined in quiet harmony. Malik's journey had transformed him. He was no longer just a boy on a quiet street, but a young man with a voice and a vision. His friendship with Arthur deepened, a bond forged in trust and shared purpose. Together, they stood beneath the maple tree, the scent of jasmine and hay mingling in the air, their shadows long and intertwined as the sun dipped low. Malik knew they were ready to face whatever the future held, strengthened by the power of truth and friendship. Spring blossomed anew on Maple Street, painting the neighborhood with fresh colors and renewed hope. Tulips and daffodils bloomed along the sidewalks, their vibrant hues a cheerful contrast to the soft greens of budding trees. The once quiet street now buzzed with life, and stories shared openly, laughter spilling from open windows and the rhythmic tapping of footsteps on the pavement. The old Henderson house, no longer abandoned and forlorn, was being lovingly restored as a community center, a tribute to the past and a beacon for the future. Scaffolding framed the house as volunteers painted and cleaned, their voices mingling with the songs of birds greeting the new day. Malik walked past the barn, now tidy and vibrant, the hay bales stacked neatly like golden bricks in a fortress of memory. He smiled, feeling the weight of the past lifted and replaced by possibility and promise. Arthur, seated on the refurbished bench beneath the maple tree, watched with a gentle smile, his eyes bright with quiet pride. Their journey had revealed more than hidden identities. It had uncovered the strength of connection, resilience, and hope. As the sun dipped low, casting long golden light over the street, Malik felt the pulse of the neighborhood, the heartbeat of a community transformed. This was just the beginning. The story of a black teen who stopped to help an old white man had become a tale of transformation for a boy, a man, and an entire community.